I'm Erik Calderon.
And I'm Trey Dixon, and the two of us just saw Slow West. Slow West is the new Western from first-time filmmaker John McClane. It stars Cody Smith-McPhee, Michael Fassbender, and Ben Mendelsohn. The story centers on a young boy who traverses the dangerous, desolate, Civil War-addled landscape accompanied by a bounty hunter who may or may not have ulterior motives. Erik, I know what you thought of the movie.
Yeah, but they don't.
Well,
they don't know what I thought about the movie, and they need to know. You guys need to know what I thought about the movie.
We've disagreed almost every time we've done a review together.
Yeah.
And never before in my life have I ever disagreed with you more.
Yeah.
I don't think you and I have...
Transformers.
That was a bad one.
That's a very good movie.
I'm still, you know, whenever I look at you, I feel like I'm looking at the poster child for the intellectually disenchanted. I just don't understand your reasoning sometimes.
Well, let me tell them what I think.
And then I'll
I think this is the worst movie you could ever watch. But I have to admit that when I was watching it with Trey and I was watching it with Kevin, and we had a great time watching it because we had this like private screening going, and we just like, it was like awesome.
If I can quickly jump in,
yeah.
Never do that. Never watch movies with Kevin or Erik because it's a nightmare. It was such a nightmare to watch this movie with the two of you guys constantly talking on that small computer monitor. I literally had to find somebody else who was screening the movie. I went and I found them, I sought the movie out, and I saw it again separately.
So you saw it twice?
I saw this movie twice, partly because...
I would never see it twice.
I saw it...
I mean, it was like the acting was awful, the
no,
direction was terrible.
I saw this movie twice.
The only thing good about it was the scenery.
There's so much more to this movie than meets the eye. First of all, I love when a movie likes to take its time. Mm-hmm. Now, I know that some people find that a bit of a turnoff, although it is technically in the title, so you can expect it coming. But it is a movie that likes to take its time. And now, if that's something that turns you off, I would say that this is a movie that is very cleverly exploiting Western genre conventions and repurposing them into something that's really different and really unique.
Well, let's talk about the opening for a second.
Okay.
Like in the opening sequence, right? It's pretty much... The opening sequence is the same as every sequence in the film, right? It's someone gets killed, and then someone gets killed, and then someone gets killed again, and then someone gets killed again. In the whole movie, someone's getting killed.
Yes, so as is the case with most Westerns, there are people constantly getting killed.
That was boring. That was awful. That was terrible.
Well, what do you think happened back in the West? Back in the old Civil War, where everybody was traveling around on horseback and getting horrible tuberculosis, people weren't doing fine. I think it was perfectly fine that everybody was dying. It made perfect sense. And what you get a sense from this movie is that the West, not just the West itself, but the people also inhabiting the West, were horrible monsters. And the movie sells that beautifully. And
you like the ending, right?
I love the ending. It
was like the worst ending ever.
I thought the ending was visually poetic and really well done.
It was awful. I mean, who wants to see that happen? You know?
I thought it made perfect sense.
But you see, I go to a movie to get entertained.
See, the whole movie feels like a story that Michael Fassbender's character is telling to the audience. And when you see events unravel the way that it does, you know, because normally I'm not a fan of narration in movies. I don't usually like when a character feels the need to narrate unless it serves a purpose. When the ending ended the way it ended, I thought, oh wow, this all makes sense now. This all works perfectly for the way that they set it up.
Yeah.
This movie made so much sense to me.
Yeah, but it was like slow, very slow.
So you would like...
And the acting was awful. I mean, I could have acted that. I mean, it was just like, you just stand there, sit there and do this, and you're acting it.
That's what Cody Smith-McPhee did in the movie. If I have one major criticism, it's that I didn't like his acting. But I thought Michael Fassbender was great. First of all, you are able to elude so many things from his performance. He's clearly not what he seems because there's this whole history with this group of bounty hunters led by Ben Mendelsohn, who was also very great in the movie. And you don't ever have him tell the audience that. It's never really explained. It's through his like mannerisms that you are able to discern this entire history with this character that he has with all these other horrible bounty hunters. And you get the sense that he left not because he disagreed with them, because he's certainly just as evil at times, if not just as, if not more evil than the characters that were pursuing them.
Yeah. But it was still terribly boring and the acting was awful. But You know what? There's one thing I really liked about the film was the cinematography.
The cinematography
cinematography was awesome.
For me, the cinematography is the icing on an altogether pretty good tasting cake to begin with.
Well, for me, it was just the cinematography was good.
You see this.
It was great. I mean, it was beautiful landscapes.
Really so filmed in New Zealand. What I found out is that they filmed this entire movie in New Zealand, and they managed to get some really great landscapes.
Which was one of the things that we were joking about while we were watching the film, right?
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to be in the West.
Yeah,
but it was in New Zealand.
They do have blue bonnets in the West.
And they had some weird animal, they had this
It was one skeleton.
That was a skeleton of an animal I've never seen a skeleton of.
It was a skeleton of a cow.
No, it had
genius.
It had these bones coming out like a dinosaur, you know.
It's a spine. It's a spine. We're talking about a skeleton in this movie.
No, but it had spines coming out like that. I mean, usually a spine is like this, right? Like a spine is, but they had like bones coming out of the spine.
What could it have been? Did you think that they put a dinosaur skeleton?
It looked like a dinosaur skeleton.
It wasn't a dinosaur skeleton. We're arguing
weird.
about a skeleton in a Western. This movie is not about a skeleton. It's about this relationship that's formed between this boy and this bounty hunter that accompanies him. By the way, you were complaining when we were watching. You were saying that none of the character motivations make sense.
They didn't.
No, it did when you watched the movie and actually got through the whole thing.
No, it didn't make sense. And then that was another thing that I didn't like about the film was that, the scenes were not moving the story forward.
This is a movie that was nihilistic. Do you understand what that means? It's not, first of all, the story is very clear once you check it all together. The movie's kind of like a mosaic. Individually, little tiny pieces seem inconsequential and don't really look like much. But when you piece it all together, it's a beautiful picture.
Yeah, but it didn't move it forward. I mean, and then it was like, and we were joking about this, Kevin and I, we were having fun with this because it was one scene where it's like it takes so long, so many minutes of the film to get to the point where it's going to move the story forward. And then it didn't even make sense. Why would that happen in the film?
This is a kind of movie that will make sense more so when you've seen it all the way through and you put all the individual pieces together. And I would recommend that you watch it twice. It's probably the ideal way to watch it.
I would recommend that you never watch it.
This is not a 1 out of 10. That's the most unreasonable grade.
So what would you give it?
I would give it like a 7.5, maybe even an 8.
Really?
I really, really liked this movie.
I would give it like a 1.1.
A 1.1?
Yeah.
You're giving it a 0.1 extra because of cinematography?
Yeah.
That's how much you award it for this gorgeous cinematography?
I mean, I would never watch this again. I would never
There are thousands of movies I would never watch again.
I mean, I love
I'll
Westerns.
never watch The Godfather
Like
again. That doesn't mean it's not a bad. That doesn't mean it's a bad movie.
The Unforgiven was great.
Do you ever watch that again?
Yeah, I've watched it several times.
See, I never watched it again, but I know that it's a good movie.
And The Equalizer was really good. That's like a modern day Western, you know?
It's not a Western. It's like
a modern day Western.
It's a modern day crime thriller.
Yeah, like everyone dies kind of just like in this film.
First of all, not everybody dies.
Well, just about everybody died.
Not the important people. With
the two little kids didn't die.
Yeah, well, let's just go ahead and spoil the whole movie for these people. This is a cool movie. I thought this was an interesting piece of work that took a lot of really nifty genre conventions and sort of flipped them on their head, much in the way that It Follows did with a lot of horror conventions. And I think that John McClane is a talent to look out for, particularly from a directorial debut. This is one of the better directorial debuts I've seen in quite some time, and he managed to pull some really subtle, interesting performances out of his actors.
But the acting was awful.
No, it wasn't. The acting was interesting and subdued. You could have done Cody Smith McPhee's role.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't. I don't think. Look, the kid's young. All right. Cody Smith McPhee is an interesting actor. He's done some interesting films. He's been a part of some interesting films. I don't think he's quite ready to be a leading man.
So, what was your favorite scene in the film?
My favorite.
What was your favorite scene?
My favorite scene in the film. God, that's tough because there's a lot of really good stuff in this movie. Well, I like the scene where where everybody's drunk, they just had a bunch of absinthe, and then they wandered off to another camp. Because that's when the characters are sort of like all three of the main characters, with the exception of Rose. I don't know if you because she's like the objective, but she's not really like a main character per se. It's in that sequence where Michael Fassbender and Ben Mendelsohn and Cody Smith McPhee are all drunk on absinthe. He wanders off into a camp that just happens to exist for some reason. Yeah. Like all those characters are like converging.
I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah,
I thought that was funny.
It's in that moment that all of the questions you've had during the movie, all the things that you've asked yourself, and you're thinking, okay, it's all going to sort of converge at some point. That's where it does. And that's a
but
a really well done sequence.
Well, okay, I disagree with you because I think that was a really stupid sequence. And then,
Why was it stupid?
Well, it's like, why would the kids be with the bounty hunters? You know, I mean, it doesn't make sense.
He decided to go ahead. We're running out of time.
We are. Yeah.
We're running out of time.
But we still have a little bit of time.
We have what, 30 seconds?
We got like 30
I guess
seconds
we'll. It depends. Okay, like it's set up in the beginning, and if you watch the movie twice, it all makes sense. Trust me. Everything that is in this movie serves a purpose. It's really slow and really methodical, but it's rewarding.
So you would give it a 7.5?
I would give it a 7.5
to an 8.
You know what? I'll do my first uneven rating ever since I started doing this show. I'm going to give it a 7.9 because I don't know if I can quite get it up to an 8, but it's better than going halfway. I really liked this movie a bit.
Well, there you have it. I think Trey would give it a 7.9. I'd give it a 1.1. And Trey recommends you see it. I recommend you don't. But, maybe you should see it because it would be interesting to hear your feedback.
If anything, it's divisive.
Yeah, and then leave your comments. If you see it, leave your comments at the bottom of our YouTube channel. But anyways, let me get to the closing. We love films. If you love films, please visit the HCC filmmaking program. You'll see the web link right there and sign up for a class.
Check out our YouTube channel and subscribe if you would like to receive more reviews just like this one. As always, thank you so much for watching. And if there is a movie that you would like for us to review, then go ahead and leave that in the comments as well. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next time.
Brought to you by HCC TV and the filmmaking program at HCC.